Back here on HQ, so the league is suspending Kansas City Chiefs wideout Rasheed for the first 6 games of the season under the player conduct policy. Rice pleaded guilty to a pair of felony charges over the summer stemming from a high-speed crash in Dallas last year. So Rasheed Rice is going to be eligible to return in Week 7 against the Raiders. So if we take a look at the Chiefs' schedule, those are the games, the ones that are highlighted in red, that Rasheed Rice will miss. So he's going to miss 1 through 6. That's the Chargers, the Eagles, the Giants on Sunday Night Football, the Ravens, the Jags on Monday Night Football, and then the Lions on Sunday Night Football. So missing 3 of those primetime games for the Chiefs, the first 6 games of the season. All right, let's welcome in our NFL analyst Pete Prisco here, because Pete, we're going to discuss concerns for every AFC Super Bowl contender. Of course, if we're talking Super Bowl, we're talking Chiefs, right? So we're going to start there. They're going to start this season, as mentioned, without Rasheed Rice, but you actually have some concerns about the running back room.
Yeah, a lot of concerns about the running back room, and I think they do as well. Look, Isaiah Pacheco is a good player, but he's coming off an injury. Kareem Hunt is banged up right now, and he's 30. They brought back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so, I mean, they're desperate for running back help. Elijah Mitchell hasn't had a great summer. So you look at their running game and you say, it's got to be better than what it's been, but are those guys capable of making it better than it's been? So for me, that's the biggest concern. And do they look elsewhere? Will they call maybe Jacksonville and maybe inquire about a guy like Tank Bigsby and see if he's available? Because I don't think this running back room is good enough right now the way it's constructed for the Chiefs.
Tank Bigsby, stay in Jacksonville. No. All right, let's go to the Ravens, because on offense, of course, bringing back key pieces. Of course, in the former MVP, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, the two-headed monster there. We had some questions about the defense, right, throughout the season, but towards the end of the season, they started to get things together. But what concerns you about this Baltimore team?
Well, you know, most great teams have guys you have to identify at the line of scrimmage in terms of their pass rush ability, and the Ravens don't. They do it by committee. And so somebody has to emerge, and I think they have high expectations for rookie Mike Green. And I think you got to keep an eye on him as possibly emerging as that guy down the line. Not right away, it might take a little bit of time. But their pass rush has been manufactured. You know, Van Noy and guys like that, they're good at what they do, but they're not great put your hand in the ground, go win consistently pass rushers. And the Ravens don't have one of those guys unless Mike Green maybe emerges as a potential to be that guy. But right now, that's the biggest problem. It's hard to find problems with some of these teams because this is a darn good roster.
All right, let's go to the Bengals, where the offense is not the problem, right? They paid Joe Burrow, they paid Jamar, they paid T. Higgins. We know this offense can score points. The problem is the defense, and they've seemingly figured out this Trey Hendrickson situation for now, but we know it. The defense is the problem, Pete.
It's been the problem. There's a lot of problems within the problem. I mean, that's the issue for them. The run defense hasn't been great. They feel like they've upgraded there. They'll be bigger and tougher, and that might help the run defense. And if you can't stop the run, it's hard to turn your pass rushers loose. Getting Hendrickson back is important for this team because at times they're going to score a lot of points. We know that. And you got to have a guy who can put the opposing quarterback on the ground. Shamar Stewart needs to step up and become a big part of what they do in terms of the pass rush. But the biggest change for them, I think, is getting Al Golden in as defensive coordinator. He will be much more aggressive. When you look at their corners last year, they played a ton of zone. They're not really zone corners. I think they're more man-to-man guys. And I think that will help them much more than people are anticipating. I think the Bengals will take a step up in terms of their defense this year.
Yeah, and it really came down to the stretch last year. Even with that terrible defense, it came, down to the last couple weeks. They were still kind of in contention, even with the horrible defense that we saw. Let's go to the Bills, because there's always that conversation of their window, their Super Bowl window. Is it closed? La, la, la. You got Josh Allen, right? And it's the Chiefs that have just knocked them out of the playoffs 4 times in the last 5 years. So what could potentially hold them back from getting over the hump?
You know, in years past, it's always been the defensive line, I think, and they've addressed that a bunch of different ways, but it's not that way anymore. This defensive line will come at you in waves. You know, once they get guys off suspension, Michael Hoyt, Larry Ogunjobi, after 6 games, you're going to have a bunch of bodies that can get after the quarterback. So that's not the issue anymore. I think the issue is at corner. And they've done a great job over the years of kind of hiding their corners a little bit. They play a lot of zone. They like having the longer, good zone corners. But Maxwell Hairston was drafted to be one of their guys starting corners, or at least compete for the starting job right away. And he got dinged up in camp, won't be around for a little bit. And now Tre'Davious White is also banged up. So that's the major concern for me. What do you do at corner if those guys can't go early in the season? Sean McDermott, great job. Again, I said it earlier about kind of hiding his guys. They did want to play a little bit more man, and that's why Hairston was going to be in the equation. I don't know if they'll be able to do that early in the season.
And they get a tough test early on in the Ravens week 1. All right, let's go to maybe one of the bigger surprise teams of last season, the Broncos, going 10-7. They make the playoffs, of course, losing to the Bills in the wild card round. But we're all kind of wondering, Pete, can Bo Nix build upon that incredible rookie season that we saw in 2024?
Yeah, and it was really good, and Sean Payton did a great job with him, scheming things up. But again, now the book is out on him. He had a whole season full of tape, and so you're going to have to get better. That's always the challenge for young quarterbacks. We saw it last year with C.J. Stroud. He had a sophomore slump, in large part because his offensive line wasn't very good, but teams get a book on you, and once they get a book on you, try and start figuring it out. Sean Payton's one of the best offensive minds in this league. I think he'll figure it out, but you never know, and that's why there's always one of those concerns going into the second season for a young quarterback. How does he handle the rookie year success, and can it translate to even more success? And I think that's the biggest question for the Broncos.
All right, let's get to the Chargers. They won 11 games in Harbaugh's first season as head coach here. The last time they went to the playoffs was 2019. So what concerns do you have for this roster?
Well, when you look at it, when you lose a tackle like Rashawn Slater, I mean, that's a big hit to your offensive line. That was going to be the strength of the team. You had Rashawn Slater at left tackle. You had Joe Alt at right tackle. And now they don't. And all of a sudden, what do? You move Alt from right tackle to left tackle. And he's done a nice job since he stepped in there, and I think he'll be okay. But he isn't Slater. And so that weakens you at left tackle, but it also weakens you at right tackle because Alt was going to be the starting right tackle. Now, Trey Pipkins, who has some starts and has started at guard and tackle, will go in as the right tackle. So anytime your offensive line technically gets weakened at two tackle spots, that's always a concern for me.
All right, finally, let's get to the Texans, because C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans, as that quarterback head coaching duo, don't know what it's like so far to not make the playoffs, right? But what do we always say, Pete? It always comes back to the offensive line.
And it was terrible last year. And they've made changes on that offensive line, and I don't know how much better it's going to be. They're going to start a rookie left tackle probably, Ariante Ursary from Minnesota. It's been a great story for them so far in training camp. They started him at right tackle, moved him over to left tackle when Cam Robinson went down, and he's now the starting left tackle. They still have some questions on the interior. They might have 3 new starters in there, maybe not, but there's going to be competition so far for those jobs. And then you go, what do they do with the right tackle spot? Titus Howard will probably start at the right tackle, and he started at both guard and tackle over his career. So is it a better offensive line? Yeah, it's bigger. It's younger in some spots, but I don't know if it's necessarily better. And if anybody saw Ed Ingram play in Minnesota, he was a major problem.
All right, Pete, we certainly appreciated going through the concerns that you have for some Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. Just a reminder as well, NFL on CBS, that returns September 7th, and a new show that is dropping, by the way. Make sure you check out the NFL Today Plus. Our Amanda Guerra, Kyle Long, Matt Ryan, and Antonio Pierce. This is NFL Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can stream it live on Paramount Plus, right here on CBS Sports HQ, or the NFL on CBS YouTube channel.